Hello there, you guys, and happy beautiful fall. I think by the time you see this, it might be more wintry feeling. Who knows? But went on a magical fall walk this morning, wrapped up in a coat, with my cup of coffee, with the gloves, the earmuffs, the boots. It just really started to feel magical and fall like to me. And while I was on my walk, I was thinking of you. And this thought occurred to me since our recital's coming up in December to talk to you a little bit about performance anxiety. Many of you might already know that I have a whole playlist. I think it's called Conquering My Fears, that has to do with performance anxiety. When I graduated from my master's program in viola performance in 2015, I was just pretty heartbroken, I guess is the best way to characterize my relationship with music, classical music, and actually just music in general. And I also was very heartbroken with my own ability to just perform. And for probably, I don't know, I would have performed for my master's recital. That would have been in 2015. But it was only until 2022 that I actually performed again. And I went on this epic soul quest to get over this fear of performing. And I documented it for you and talked about it in this playlist from last year, from the year 2022, that's called Conquering My Fears. And so every year in December, I do a little studio recital here in Pennsylvania. And there's a sweet little church across the road, and they're lovely. And actually, on a side note, my first practice performance at this church in 2022, the pews were all filled with stuffed animals. And I could have cried at the joy of seeing the pews filled with stuffed animals because I was so nervous and just kind of out of my comfort zone at that point in time. And so when I arrived at the church, and met the coordinator and walked down the aisles there, and I saw all the stuffed animals, an enormous teddy bear like in the very first pew, and then like little stuffed animals. It just made me so happy. It just made me feel like, oh, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And so, you know, strangely, it seems like little ones, children, don't really struggle with this as much. And it's only when we really become adults that we just become very self-critical. We become, much more likely to think, well, I can't do it perfectly, so I could never do that. And it just becomes a daunting thing for us to do. And actually, even if to some extent, in your, years ago, you might have performed, or you might have taught, or you might have like had some kind of, you had to go give presentations and things in your professional career. It's something about performing with music that just can really send a shiver of fear down one's spine. And so I just wanted to come here and talk to you about some thoughts that I have about it. And the main thing, there's two things that I've really realized. The first thing is that I have one life in this body, right? And I am a professionally classically trained musician, and I can't let that fear of performing, that mere idea of just not being good enough, stop me from playing my instrument. I couldn't let that thought put me in a cage, because I knew that there's been many things like that in my life that have held me back, that have tried to hold me back, thoughts and ideas that I've tried to hold myself back. And if I had let them do that, I just never would have done any of the things that I've done in life. Like so many of us, we're actually stronger than we realize. And if there is that little teeny tiny desire, that little pinprick of, I want to do this, or I could do this, that little glimmer of hope and desire and will within you, if that exists, then it can actually become powerful enough to dispel all of the stupid, meaningless thoughts that are just trying to hold you back, those fearful ideas that are just trying to keep you from doing what it is that you want to do. If you have that tiny pinprick of light within you, it will become powerful enough to dispel all of that darkness. That's what I'm trying to say. You just have to give it the opportunity to do that. And so that's why, as part of my December studio recitals, since I am sensitive to performance anxiety, I always try to make it a fun occasion. And I'm looking down here at 3 bags of little costumes and little Christmassy, Hanukkah-y, wintry, Yuletide decorations down here that I like to, fling over my studio as they're playing. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I guess there's 2 things that I realized. Let me go back to that. The first thing was that I'm a classically trained musician. And I couldn't let fear just keep me from doing what it is that I wanted to do. And the second thing is that I kind of touched on it at the end. You have to kind of give yourself opportunities, little tiny opportunities to try and hopefully enjoy. And there's also going to be moments along your learning path where you might experience, unfortunately, despair. You might have a joyful experience, a few of those, but you also might have some really traumatic experiences too. And actually in my playlist, I talked about that. I had some really positive experiences and some one in particular negative experience. And it was just because I kind of pushed myself way out of my comfort zone. But I'm still glad that I didn't, because it did allow me to learn. And I've experienced that feeling. And if I'm ever in that situation again, I know that I can actually do it. It's just that it was so foreign to me, to be in a particular circumstance like I was in. And it scared me, basically. It just kind of scared me. But anyway, you have to give yourself opportunities. And so for studio recitals, there's usually just a few of us, 5, 6 people that are playing on the recital. I really want everyone to have a happy and joyful experience, because this whole year you've been playing your instrument, you've been learning little things. Maybe you haven't really practiced very much, and your lesson is just your time to have some music bubble time with me and your instrument, and some music bubble time with yourself and the instrument. And we just kind of go through things together. But despite that, you've had 12 months of showing up to lessons and hopefully practicing a little bit. And by the end of the year, you might have a couple songs in your fingers that you really like. And the recital is just a gentle opportunity for you to express and show and get together with other people from the studio, as well as me, to actually just play your songs and have a really fabulous pianist accompany you as well, and just have a sense of accomplishment at the end of the year. So one of the ways that I like to make that joyful is, like I said, every year I go get special little decorations. So I'm going to show you some of the decorations that I have. This is a little thing that you can clip on your top. And let's see, just a little decoration. I've got a few of those. I've got some little reindeer antler ears. I've got lots of these wonderful garlands that you can wrap around an arm or wrap around your hair or just wear like a necklace. Lots of those. In fact, this whole bag is just filled with those, I think. What else do we have? I've also got some little Christmas hats These are very small, but anyway, they do look very funny and silly. They just barely fit my head. But just imagine, you know, you're there on stage with me and your pianist and maybe another friend or two musical friends. I've got a few little hats. I've got some little jingly necklaces. And oh my gosh, I have some things to put around your scroll. So you can put some little elf shoes. I really wanted to find elf shoes. Like, I've never been able to find elf shoes. If you do have elf shoes, I'm a size 8.5. I can fit in a size 8, but 8.5 is better for me. So little elf shoes. And last bag. These are more like little ornaments. So I've got some wintry little snowflakes that you could put at the end of your, I can't quite get them apart, but end of your scroll, or like on your wrist. And found some beautiful blue ones. Look at these beautiful sparkly blue ones. It's so lovely. And then finally, ribbon. I've got all these little lovely ribbons to wrap you up in, like a present, or to wrap your bow up in, because that feeling of just kind of joy should be right there present in your heart when you're performing. And that thought of, I can't do this, and fear of not being good enough, and all those whatever fears, making a mistake or forgetting where you are, whatever it is, all those fears are just not there in the light of joy and having fun. So even though most of my studio are adults, all these little things are for them. They're all for you, so that you can feel joyful and childlike again, and just enjoy having some fun playing music. So anyway, last thing about preparing for a performance, going back to the church and how the church had little stuffed animals in the pews. You could take a stuffed animal that you have and practice playing to the stuffed animal, a couple times before the recital. Maybe start doing that a month or so before the recital. And then you can bring that little stuffed animal and you can put it in the pew. Nobody will know, especially if it's a little tiny stuffed animal. You could even put it on the music stand and people will think, oh, that's such a cute, little Christmas ornament or whatever it is. Nobody will know that it's your, what's that called? What's it called when you need an emotional support stuffed animal? There we go. It's your emotional support stuffed animal. But anyway, you can also, even put your little video camera by the little stuffed animal a couple weeks, as you're practicing performing, and then just kind of record yourself. But if you want to get over your fear of performing, the best way to do that is just by doing it little bit by little bit. And if I can do it, I was so crippled with fear, you can definitely do it too. And I just want to wish you all a happy end of the year, and congratulations to everything that you've been doing with your musical studies. And I just encourage you to get out there and face your fears and let yourself grow into a confident, even more confident, beautiful earthling than ever thought you could possibly be. I'm sorry for my stomach gurgling. But anyway, it's time for me to go get a cup of tea and a snack, and I'll see you all very soon. Lots of love, you guys.